Hey everybody, this is Josh McKinney, and I just want to welcome you to episode 153 of the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show. So today, we're going to do something different, something we have never done on the show before. I've done, I think just one 3-person episode ever on the show, and it was with Jake Watson and Danny O'Donnell. It was a really, really great episode. I really enjoyed the 3-person aspect, but never really revisited it. And today, I get to do another 3-person podcast. But what's unique about this one is not going to be done through a computer screen. It's not going to be done through Zoom. We are all 3 in the same room. I get a unique moment where I get these 2 BJJ globetrotters, for lack of a better term, these BJJ travelers that were both in my town and we're both teaching at my school. And so getting to talk to both guys, both Charles and Chris, it really is fun. The in-person aspect is just so cool. I hope that you guys are going to feel the same way that we felt afterwards. But I really feel like this is kind of the direction that I want to be going towards on the podcast. I don't want to say I'll never, ever do a Zoom podcast again, like an over-the-computer podcast again, but I'll probably never, ever do an over-the-person podcast again for the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show, at least. Obviously, being on somebody else's podcast is different. There was just something so unique about the Chicago takeover that we just did and this episode in particular that I think comes from being in the same room as these people. And so I really hope that is the future, that is the direction that we are going to be going for the podcast. I think that it is, but I think you guys are going to like this one too. We get to talk a lot about, sometimes we talk about like travel for BJJ, how to go to a seminar, how to travel to a seminar and enjoy it, right? And how to go to a tournament and enjoy it, get the most out of it. How do you travel there? Really, this episode is not travel for BJJ. It's more BJJ for travel, and you'll kind of get what I mean by that with Chris's first conceptualized idea on travel. I think you guys are really going to enjoy both Chris and Charles' perspectives on traveling and training and traveling and teaching and just all of the interesting things that they do. And also, they're just 2 very fun guys, and it really comes through more because we're in person, I believe. And so, that's all I have for you guys today. Quick shout out to Bryce Allen of Allen Brothers Jiu-Jitsu for producing this podcast, and also for the push towards kind of going in person only. He's really been somebody behind the scenes on the podcast that's been secretly cutting strings, secretly directing the podcast for a long time. Really appreciate you, Bryce. Thanks for being in the room. Let's get into this episode. Chris, Charles, how are you guys doing?
Good, man. Glad to be back.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. Charles, first time.
Yeah, enjoying it.
You've been on. Let's go just a quick intro on you, just so me and Chris don't pick up where we left off and they're like, wait a second, who's this Charles?
Yeah.
Where did he come from? Tell us. So I'd like to start just with a little bit kind of where you started out in jiu-jitsu, just a little bit fast forwarded to where you are now.
All right. Long story, so I'm going to try my best to be brief. I'm long-winded, but long-time martial artist. Like I did like some Ninja Turtles as like a little boy. My dad put me in Taekwondo, then karate for years, and eventually kickboxing and judo, and then like I got my butt kicked the first time that I tried to jump in the cage with somebody because I didn't have like a 2-year wrestler beat me up, and that led me into wanting to grapple a bit more. And I was doing breakdancing in college, and I had a day job. I graduated college and knew what I was going to do. Day job for like 8.5 years. Left that, started traveling and wandering the earth doing jiu-jitsu. Christian Gaugard sponsored me to travel, and then I got to go to the Heidelberg camp where I met this guy, and he made me doubt all of my abilities in jiu-jitsu.
Oh yeah,
mild panic attack, and then I carried through that and ended up teaching for Globetrotters, and now my life pretty much consists of traveling and teaching and training jiu-jitsu, as well as living in Gainesville, Florida. So sometimes I'll tour with my girlfriend Natasha, where she's a Thai massage, she's a physio / massage therapist, and so she'll teach some Thai massage and I'll teach some jiu-jitsu, and she also assists me. And then other times I'll link up with people like Chris and do a little buddy movie tour together, and that's my life.
That's a fun life, man. That is, we got to talk about this quite a bit last night. And so I was thinking, where would be the place to start with these two guys? I'm with two world travelers. We took them to the pinnacle, Granite City, Illinois. Right? We sit them down. Obviously, what other goals are there at this point? You're in Granite. Yeah, it's over, right? And so when Shui was in town, I think I said something like, yeah, dude, everybody, it's pretty much jiu-jitsu meccas, New York, LA, Granite City. People, everybody hears about it, right? And but with that, you guys are talking to a black belt that teaches seminars in America. He's never taught a seminar out of the country. Never been to Europe. What reason would there be for me to do it? Why should I? Because you guys have been telling me that I should do some certain camps and I should do some certain tours. I just thought it'd be fun if I let you guys convince me to do it to start this podcast. Because you guys are experts in this.
So the reason why I'm doing this, like doing the traveling and teaching, is obviously I want to spread the good word of Preet Nicholson and defensive jiu-jitsu. I am his emissary. I am Discount Preet. But it was actually Christian Graugart. So he is the original OG BJJ Globetrotter. And if you watch the documentary, anyone listen to this, it's called The Gentle Art of Travel. And he did a tour about 13, 14 years ago, where he just went east out of Denmark and went around the world for 6 months teaching jiu-jitsu, then came back, which obviously is probably why he related to you so well. And I went to the first Globetrotters camp 9 years ago, and one of the things he said there, it was an interview, but it actually didn't make it to the finished product, was he said he doesn't care so much about jiu-jitsu. Obviously it's a great sport, it's fun to teach it, but it is literally the best vehicle for seeing the world. Is that, especially because, if you're in America or if you're in English-speaking countries, I use that term loosely for over here, like really loosely. You can go around Europe, and there's obviously so many different languages, and maybe not everyone speaks good English or English at all. But being able to just have that universal handshake and automatically have that connection, it's not like we're best friends already. There is nothing better to see the world. Is that kind of like, I refer to it like a dance. Like, how many people do you roll with that they roll like an asshole, like they're just mean and they're like clumsy or whatever, and you go, screw this guy, I don't want to be friends with him. He might be the nicest person in the world, but he rolls like a dick, and you're just like, you know what,
that's true.
I don't want to be friends with them. Yeah, if you roll with someone and like there's good chemistry, it's fun or it's competitive, and you're like, oh my god, I think we're best friends now. It's literally like having a dance partner in like a club or something. And knowing that is like the case around the world, you can go to anywhere, English speaking or not, have that dance and go, oh my god, should we go get food now? Like, I'm pretty sure we're best friends. Yeah. And you tell me anything in the world that even comes close to that level of connection. I think it's it's the trust and knowing that I'm going to put my life in this person's hands, and if they abuse it, then I really don't want to know them. Mm-hmm. But if they can take care of me in this dance, then and who knows the area better than the person that lives there? Like, you can like for yourself, like, I don't know anything about granite apart from it. Like, say it's San Diego, New York granite when it comes to the meccas of jiu-jitsu, like Rio. It's about on par with Rio at this point.
Yeah. A lot of people think that.
Yeah, exactly.
At least certain aspects are on par with Rio. Maybe not the jiu-jitsu aspect.
Yeah, a little bit. And yeah, it's like, but you know this area better. So it's like, I get to the point where I don't like saying no when I go places because you limit yourself. And so, you say, oh, let's go do this. I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then it's like, I learn. I mean, I'm not a religious person. I'm very much atheist in that way. But even I can have a spiritual moment where I'm like sitting somewhere and go, what the hell did I get here? Like, in what parallel universe would a kid from Stafford, England, be sitting in Granite City? And like, even just at the gas station, just when I got a coffee, she was like, I have no idea why you're here. I'm like, I don't know either. So if that alone, like, you have good jiu-jitsu, you have a good attitude towards learning and explaining the art and being a good coach, and using that then to spread your good word and then get the pay itself is the fact that you get to see this. Like, everyone says, oh, I'd love to travel the world. How? Like, what's the best way of doing it? And everywhere that you think would be, that makes you happy. Like, I also, I want to go to New York City, but like from the previous tour of Charles, I was happiest in Savannah. And you think, I would have never in a million years thought Savannah. Yeah, here I am. And it's so strange that this is how it works. Like, you could make a tour of yourself thinking, I want to go to all these places, and they wouldn't live up to the expectation. Yet it's those random occurrences where you go, oh, will you come out to Munster, Germany, or Heidelberg? Places you wouldn't be able to find on a map if you had 1,000 years. And you're like, wow, this place is incredible. Like, why have I never come here? So hopefully that alone, I don't know what Charles will say, but hopefully that alone will sell you on this.
Yeah.
Chris and I think pretty similar on things, so as he's pretty much said like half the shit I was going to say. So
Sorry.
Leaving me with the dregs straight to the barrel. I completely agree with a lot of that. Like, it's that idea of, it is very particular to jiu-jitsu, but more generally, I got a taste of it even before I was deep in jiu-jitsu, because back in like 2005, I did study abroad, and I got stranded in Barcelona. I missed my train, and I had nowhere to go, and there was a group of guys who were breakdancing. And I just walked over and just started dancing with them. And like, they were like, hey, and I'm like, I'm not trying to take your tips. Like, I'm just trying to dance with you guys. And then afterwards, they're like, what's happening? I'm stuck here. They're like, oh. And they immediately it's like, you can stay at this guy's house. And I, like, mind you, at this point in time, my Spanish is like super beginner. I did study abroad to learn Spanish, but I hadn't really learned very much. And so my Spanish was just survival. I was like using like single sentences that required me like 2 minutes to construct in my head. I think I'm saying this right. And so I kept on just repeating like, tengo pasta, which was the slang for money, pero no tengo cuarto, like a room. Like, puedes ayudarme? Can you help me? And I just kept saying that over and over until somebody gave me a look with a smile and like, I have a place to sleep.
Yeah.
And then like, I met those guys and I was able to do that. So like, that was my first example of like, oh, like a stranger which you have something in common with can take care of you. And like, mind you, like, I went to this like not very fancy, like kind of low budget room where this guy and his mom were living. The guy was a Polish immigrant, like amazing. Like, the amount that he could do just blew my mind. I was like 19 at the time or 18, and every morning he would wake up, do weightlifting, go out to the street, perform on the street all day in La Rambla in Barcelona, and then from there, afterwards would hang out with his friends, eat some food, drink a little bit, and then go home and work out again before he went to sleep. In my head, like, breakdancing for me was what I did before jiu-jitsu. Like, it's such hard work to do that like, to me, 2 breakdancing sessions and I was like, good for that. He's like doing a full workout before doing moves I couldn't even fathom. And I was like, it stuck with me. But then also the fact that like, it turned out that it was nice, but like, this guy could have had me in a vat of ice and take my kidneys. Like, I don't know this person. And everything was great. And it stuck with me. And then later on, when I started traveling with jiu-jitsu, it's the same thing. Like he said, you have this bond immediately. Like, I don't speak the language that well. I don't do this, but we understand this space. And I tend to be, I guess, a bit more forgiving. Like, when someone's a true asshole on the mats, I try to be Gandhi a bit and try and figure out, it's like, have a conversation. Because, like, a lot of people, like, when someone's a complete asshole, they might be an asshole and not even know they're the asshole. I've met people who, like, why does no one want to train with me? Then I roll with them. I'm like, let's have a talk.
Yeah.
Here's why, like, you did Neon Temple to me and you outweigh me by 100 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it works. I'm like, yes, this works, and it's great for competition, but your training partner doesn't want to have your knee on their skull every day.
Yeah.
So they're going to duck you. And like I've had those moments where like I've kind of been able to like give that insight to a few people, and then like they roll slightly less like an asshole because every gym has a different culture. And so I think even just for that, just for like learning about all the different gyms, because you run a gym, it's beautiful. I just went in there today and like learning about how all the different gyms do it. It's like when I went into Chris's gym the first time in England, it blew my mind because like every other gym I'd been to traveling, there would be a few moves that were like this gym style. Maybe it's a smash passing gym, maybe it's a super key gym, maybe it's a wrestle heavy gym, maybe it's a judo heavy gym. But I'd never seen a gym where universally all of the beginners were functioning in a similar fashion. And what I mean by that is like, because usually you see like especially white belts, it's kind of a circus, right? It's kind of like a complete shit show of like what's going on with them. And you have like the super athletic white belt who is great, but you also have like the white belt who just isn't getting it. But at Chris's gym, every single person I rolled with who had been there longer than a month had his defensive system, was at least trying to play the way that he did as a base. And I had just never seen a gym that had managed to distill at least a piece of jiu-jitsu so uniformly. Like they all were a pain in the ass to get in their armpits or their hips. And then I'd be like, oh wait a minute. And then I was like, wow, these guys are so good. Like, why is he white belt? But then I would like let him have my arm. Like, oh, he is a white belt. His offense is white belt level. He doesn't have all those details on his offense. But somehow this mad scientist has found a way to like get this guy in brown or black belt defense, despite the fact that like all the rest of the jiu-jitsu is timeline appropriate.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're only gonna be so good at jiu-jitsu after 6 months or a year. Like you can be really good, but you can't be 20 years good. It's just not possible to be both breadth and depth. And so for me, every gym I've been to has that kind of a thing special. With Chris's, it was so like hit me in the face just because the defensive aspect was something that I had explored as part of what made me obsess over it for the next coming years and bring him to America, and obviously been traveling with him and we have a good friendship now. But in the beginning, he was just kind of like this asshole made me feel like I sucked. Which is like important to me. Like I need those people in my life because the cool thing about being a white belt is that everyone makes you feel like you suck. Yeah. So you can get a good role from anybody. But as you get higher and higher up, you have to travel places. Like we were going to go on our tour. Quentin Rosenzweig in Savannah, Georgia. He's the head coach and owner of 10 Pound Savannah. He's always been like my jiu-jitsu humbling stick. Anytime I think I'm good at jiu-jitsu, like Natasha or my girlfriend will drive me up there, or I'll drive there just to get my ass kicked for a while, just to like keep my ego in check and like keep my brain under control and like to get that role of like humility. And I think that you can always, it's hard to get that the higher you get. Because like I said, I think like you're in a small town. I'm in a small town. Gainesville, Florida is where I live. Small town. Stafford's not a big town. You have to travel to get beat up. You know, like you can't just get beat up in your gym. Like your students are very good, but like at the same time, like they're coming from you, so you kind of know most of their tricks. But I'm not really selling you anything other than the fact that like there's a million different versions of that.
I felt like he sold me on it. I felt like he was selling me on it. Honestly, those were two terrific answers. I think you guys convinced me and probably anyone else who thinks differently or just hasn't tried it yet. Hasn't tried to use jiu-jitsu for that vehicle as much. Like for me, it's been building this. That's been the first kind of step of my jiu-jitsu. And then hopefully this is strong enough here that I can go and do that too. But I really think you guys are convincing. I think we could probably just break down the statements that you guys made through the rest of the podcast on this.
I think one thing as well, like considering, in the past maybe 5 years, how toxic a lot of cultures have got towards people of different nationalities or races and stuff like that, to have something that which completely flies in the face of that you can you could go to, it's like from a societal personal level, you could go anywhere and someone will be your friend no matter who or where you are, what color you are. It's like the fact that person, like the amount of times I've slept on a random sofa already. You think they don't know me? I was just in Denver, Colorado, and I spoke to the guy maybe a handful of times. Cameron Larson, he's a blue belt out there, and he managed to sort out a seminar for me. He's never met me, And I'm sleeping on a sofa, and he trusts me to like, I was going out. We went out paddleboarding with his kids, and his kids are like young. They're like 7 and 4, and the fact that he then trusts me, like this guy he hasn't met, to like go paddleboarding with his kids, this random Brit, it's like, especially when you hear like how the world went over the past few years, like how
cloistering itself.
Like and to feel a culture that's just like, no, like I trust you, like you're a human being. It's like, oh my God, that's refreshing. Like, why can't we have that everywhere?
Yeah.
What's the crazy thing is I've had the same experience. I've traveled inside the U.S. and outside the U.S. to a lot of places where someone's telling me, like, you went there? Like, for example, we did a seminar in Toccoa, Georgia. It's like the middle of nowhere, Georgia. Was it like a police?
It was a police station.
It's like a police station and slash like shooting range slash all kinds of things in this tiny town in the middle of nowhere with my friend Frank, who's just this amazing giant man. He's a kind guy, but he's like a huge guy, and he's a black belt, and he's a monster. But like he's so friendly. But like for example, me, like I am ambiguously brown. Like, no one really knows where I'm from when I travel. I have had, like, the joy of being randomly selected virtually everywhere that I go. But everywhere that I go, I'm treated like an honored guest or at a minimum as a peer. Like, and I've been to countries that have people of every color, race, and creed. And, like, they're just like, oh, jiu-jitsu? And we're friends. There's no question. There's no worry. There's none of the BS that you deal with in regular life. And because I've been doing it for so long, I'm almost, like, in a bubble from a lot of that prejudice and things that happen, because most of the people I interact with in life are jiu-jitsu people. And it's only in the rare occasions where like I step out back into like the normal world and like I'll occasionally experience and like, oh yeah, like I live in a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Like I don't really live in the real world, because anywhere that I go, I've been to countries that have bad reputations. I'm with a local, and the local is vouching for me as a good person. So regardless of what, backward thoughts someone around might have, I get a shot.
Yeah.
I get an in, and I get to see these people as people.
Like, we're pretty much living the Genki Sudo "We are all one" flag at this point. As literally, we are personification of that.
Yeah. As long as you're on the mats.
Yeah.
As long as you're training, that's really cool. Hey guys, Josh here. I just want to interrupt the podcast really, really quick. If you are enjoying this episode, please, for the love of God, give me a 5-star review. Whatever you're listening to, just grab your phone right now, hit it however many times it needs to be hit 5 stars. If you're watching on YouTube, of course, a like, a subscribe, a comment, all those things are great. But if you're listening, please hit me with that 5-star review. I would love it. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, let's get back to the episode. So when I ask you guys like a moment in time, both of you as individuals, just a moment in time where you got to travel to do jiu-jitsu, you had some jiu-jitsu related experience, and you could not believe, wow, I can't believe that I'm here. Do you have one that springs to mind when I ask you about that? I know you guys travel a ton.
I think the first one, the first trip I did to Europe alone, which was for jiu-jitsu. I've been on family holidays when I was a kid, or traveled with partners, etc. But I'd never just traveled on my own, and it was the first Globetrotters camp, the first Globetrotters camp back in 2013, where first time I'd left Europe on my own, first time I'd flown on my own, and now I'm in Copenhagen, and Denmark was never on my radar. Copenhagen, I was never on my radar, and now I'm sitting in this room with 40 other people who do jiu-jitsu, and considering at that point I'd been in my own gym that never really, if I had 6 people on the mats, that was a cause for celebration. Right? It was like, get the party poppers out, we're going for beers, it's a magical night. And so to go from that to now sitting somewhere where there's all these different nationalities together just doing jiu-jitsu, I was like, wow, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
This moment from here, I'm done. Like, white belt, this, my trajectory through my jiu-jitsu career now is that way, and it's everywhere, and it's almost causing like an existential crisis that I do not have enough time to do everything now.
Yeah.
It's so hard, man. Because you said it, I wish I would have gone first because like I had an idea, but as he's talking, like other things are bubbling up in my head.
Sorry, dude.
So like, no, it's just how I go. It's that when my brain kind of spider webs out. I can't say the best. I'm really bad at number ones, but I'll have like one that I always, it's kind of like one that I always remember is the first time abroad. Maybe the first time abroad. Like the first time in Asia that somebody was willing to like let me teach a seminar for any sort of payment. It was Dan Reed's gym in Kaohsiung, Taiwan. And I had been traveling and I was supposed to have taught a seminar in Osaka. I was really excited about it. But then Hero and Henner decided they wanted to come and I got bumped. And so my seminar got canceled. They're like, well, you can still come and like watch them do their thing. And I was like, I mean, yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, I'd rather not right now, honestly. I would rather not deal with that right now.
And so I just went there. I ended up training at the gym and making friends. Like, I still friends with people in Osaka. Like I love the people I met on that trip. I had a friend from my hometown who had moved to Osaka. That's how I had the in and getting to go. And I was kind of sad. Like I was like, well, maybe I'll just keep on. Like my model at that point in time was like, I have to just convince everyone that I meet two things. I'm not an asshole, and that I don't suck at jiu-jitsu. That's it. I don't have to convince them that I'm good or that I'm the best. Just these two things. Because I know plenty of people through my life in jiu-jitsu at that point that were amazing at jiu-jitsu. World beaters at jiu-jitsu was just complete douche nozzles. Just like, you just don't want to be around them.
Yeah.
Just terrible. And then I met people who were the sweetest, nicest people, but it's just like, yeah, you're not very good at jiu-jitsu. So like, I like you, but like, I can't book you to teach anybody because like, you're just not very good. Like, we'll have some coffee, hang out. And so I just need to be in Dan. I just hit that sweet spot. And so Dan had never met me, but I posted on BJJ Go Charters, hey, my name is Charles Harriott. I'm a Carlson Gracie black belt at Dos Santos, blah, 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 blah. I want to travel, and here's the places that I'm going to try and do. And Dan responded like, hey, man, you want to come to my gym? I was like, sure. And so he said that I can do, but what I didn't realize was that Dan obviously has responsibility to students to make sure that I don't suck. So I got right off the plane, and he takes us to have like a little lunch. He treats us to lunch. Takes me straight to the gym, and him, one of his purple belts and two of his blue belts, proceed to try and murder me.
Yeah.
And so I'm rolling, and like I end up getting tapped out by him. I don't think I got tapped out by him something. I don't remember. But I did well enough. He's like, all right, you'll be teaching a seminar at the end of the week. I'm like, okay.
Sounds good, yeah.
But like, it just felt so like I felt like I was in a movie. Like, as I being like, I don't speak any Mandarin or any Chinese or whatever dialect they spoke in Kaohsiung, so I don't know if it was exactly Mandarin at all. And Dan is a giant, I believe he's Scottish. Do you know Dan?
Yeah,
he's Scottish. But like, he's like 6'3". He's a mountain of a man and like jacked. But like there's a couple of Americans, but everyone else there is Taiwanese, and it's such a strange thing. And I'm like literally going into the back room to like fight the master of this dojo to convince him to like let me. And I was just like, this is unreal. And then when I got to teach my seminar, I had a translator. Like, someone cares enough about what I'm doing to like
translate
it so people can learn me. Like, because at this point in time, I might be a black belt, but I haven't won anything anyone cares about. Like, my biggest claim to fame is like, I won an absolute at the Daily Hiva Cup at Blue Belts. I'm really proud of my Blue Belt championship. I've won like a handful of Nagas and new breeds, and like I found out that in Europe, Naga's a big deal. In America, Naga's like it's just a regular tournament. But in Europe, I guess Naga was the first Nogi tournament. So I told people I won Naga. They're like, "You won Naga?" And I was like, "Don't think this means the same thing here." And it does back home.
You just said that. You broke my heart. Like, I thought Naga meant something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. No, that's a punchline in American humor, man.
In Europe, Nagas are attended like a big deal.
Yeah.
So if you win a Naga in Europe, It's a big deal.
But it used to be like that
Oh, yeah,
here.
it was in
Do
the
you remember
beginning,
like
yeah.
Arnold Classics?
Yeah.
The Arnold Classics. It was
But that was the only game in town. That Raptors Quest.
It was like Jeff Monson versus Marcelo Garcia in
Yeah.
the finals of these divisions for $1,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so there was a point, and then at like 2010, 11, it started to get, there were some new shows, but by like 14 and 15 in America, it really was, they still do well financially, but they attract a completely different
It was
crowd.
once I remember, I was at Tournament Road Shifted in Orlando. They introduced the kids division. Pre-kids division, Naga was still a serious tournament. And I won some of them back when it was serious, but I was also like a blue belt.
Yep.
Who cares what it is, blue belt? No one cares about that. But once they introduced the kids division, all of the advanced belts were here to compete. You're told you're competing at 1 o'clock. They just weren't ready.
Yeah.
I didn't go on until 8 p.m.
Yep.
So I've been waiting for 7 hours, and that happened enough times. And then once other shows started paying people, it just bled off. But in Europe, they have less companies doing tournaments.
Yeah.
So Naga is still the best to do it out there. They're still
Yeah.
doing really well. Grappling Industries is shifting over as well, which to me is still one of my favorite tournaments to go to. But that was the whole thing. So I didn't think very highly of myself, despite the accomplishments that I had. But I realized as I traveled, like, oh, maybe I always thought that I sucked, but maybe I suck a little less than I thought. And so, like, I was always in love with teaching because I wanted to be a teacher when I was younger. So that was my moment as I end up in 3 tangents.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
I think you kind of hit something there. It's like, it's one of the interesting issues maybe that I found is that, because I'm not an athlete and the language between an athlete and a coach is entirely different.
Yes.
Yet, jiu-jitsu is still kind of in the dark ages when it comes to booking seminars. In that, if you think of like British football, Manchester United, used to be one of the best teams out there, and the best coach probably of that kind of era is Alex Ferguson, and he was never a good footballer. And he took Manchester United to be one of the best teams in the world, and the team that was on, the guys who were on that team at that time have since become managers, and they're awful. Like, and it's kind of like we know in soccer, not football, should I say?
Yeah, you need to call it.
Sorry, soccer.
Dude, you're gonna go back home and they're gonna be like, you're not English anymore.
You can say European football.
Yeah,
They make us say American football.
I'm throwing up in my mouth by saying soccer. So, but they kind of know that, as in like if you get it's going to be maybe hit and miss if you get like a good footballer turned manager. But those like Arsene Wenger, Jose Mourinho, Alex Ferguson, amazing coaches, not very good footballers. But in jiu-jitsu, like, we only look at people like, have you won worlds? Have you won ADCCs?
Yep.
Have you done this? It's like,
exactly what was asked of me. I remember the first time that when I was first traveling, I would be like, "Hi, my name's Charles. I'm going to be in the area. Like, are you interested?" And like, usually one of the blue belts or the pro belts would be really interested in me, and they talk to their coach, and I get a message back, "What have you won?"
yeah,
And I'm just like he hasn't won worlds. And I got just dismissed.
yeah,
But it's like that was why my strategy was fine. Is there an open mat?
Yep.
And I would come to the open mat and I would roll with everyone, try my best to be respectful, but also like I'm gonna see where I measure up to your gym. So I might not be a world champion, but like I know my way around an open mat. And so I'd go into the open mat and I would try my best to kindly tap out everyone that I could in the most gentle way, injure nobody, and then occasionally people would be like, "Would you like to come back for a seminar?"
Yep.
I'd be like, but it's still like you said, backwards, because I know many people who can slay most rooms on earth, and they're garbage instructors. No offense to them, like they're just very, very good at execution. And there's other people who just their execution isn't very good, but they can make you amazing.
Yeah.
Even if they had a hard time, whether it be injuries in their body or their mind-body connection, the genetics, whatever it is, they couldn't do for themselves.
Well, that's the thing. Like the amount of stars that have to align to get a good world-class athlete. I mean, we're both from small towns, and if you've got a gym in Times Square or something like that, the amount of footfall you're going to have through is pretty impressive, and you're going to find a diamond.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but if you're in a small town like Stafford, 70,000 people, and I've got I have a job and a family, I can't dedicate. Every time I was going to a competition, that's like baby formula.
Yeah.
Like I have to to make a choice there. And then they say, oh, has he coached anyone to Worlds? It's like, but when you only have 30 people come through your gym, the chance of finding someone who is financially backed, is athletic, is good at, can absorb jiu-jitsu, has the mentality to do well at jiu-jitsu,
That's so
can travel. Like, the thing is, like, we're in England, not now, but as I am, and to fund going to Vegas or whatever to go do Worlds, that's not like a bit of spare change.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to afford flights to Vegas. You've got to afford the money to appear at Worlds. You've got to afford all the hotels. You've got to be able to go over there and deal with the jet lag and maintain weight as you travel.
And as somebody who's doing that, trying to do that now, you have to lose at Worlds. You have to go and spend all that money once or twice or 3 times or 10 times and keep losing at it and go, wait,
and not be broken.
Yeah, they're doing this.
Yeah.
Oh, they're doing this. This is what they're doing differently. And then you got to take, and it just still financially to be able to go, I'm from a small town. I want to switch to being a great athlete and then a great coach after that. It really is incredibly hard, right? It is.
But I think also to become a great coach, it's also how you were taught. I think it's very rare. And the only place where I really have seen it to consistently have it, mind you, he said foot traffic, was with the Danaher guys. The Danaher guys were in Times Square, New York originally. Now they're over in Texas. And now they split off from the B team and what have you. But I was always thoroughly impressed when I took a seminar from Danaher, Gary Tonin, all of those guys were not just elite performers. I mean, Danaher's not an elite performer. Like, he's a coach, obviously, but like from Gary Tonin or even like Krellinson or Craig Jones, all those guys were elite level teachers as well. Like, they were great instructors.
Yeah.
Now, and not to mention, like, obviously they have the credentials to back it. Before that happened, I never really experienced that.
Yeah.
I experienced a lot of people who were brilliant at executing the plan which was given to them by their coach, and that is why they are a champion. And then I experienced people who were brilliant at being creative and creating things, but that meant that their competition performance was hit or miss. It was spotty. Like that, because I really do think that, like, taking your mind and being divergent, like, I think that the 10th Planet guys and a few other guys are really big on, like, creativity. They're creating. But as you're creating, you're going to create some garbage along the way.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to take time out of their schedule to invest in that creativity. And this might be a dead end. It might be the next move that changes the game, but it also might be nothing. Whereas, like, you shift over to, like, the John Danaher approach of like, less jiu-jitsu. Like, he purposely teaches less techniques and less things so that his athletes don't have that wasted mental RAM on low percentage moves, which is great for competition, but it begs the question, like, what about fun?
Yeah.
Because most people, I said it yesterday, like it was a thing said to me, like, Charles, most people in here don't want to be the best in the world. And so, like, if you're running a gym, like, you can't run every gym like John Danaher runs his school, because you'll drive away most of your students.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to balance that. I have this gym over here, this guy, say you do get a guy who comes in, and he needs that special attention to be a world champion. If you teach all of your classes to benefit his world championship run, you will lose the rest of your students in your general business.
Yeah.
I was going to say that brings up an interesting topic, I think, and that is how we have these coaches. You know, we kind of fell into this topic. I think that pretty much every time we talk, we fall into this topic. But I think it shows that it's important. How do you find that balance of creativity? Because you did just talk about how Chris, offensively, his guys were getting to create, but defensively, they had I wouldn't even, maybe we would call like a value system. It's not just a system of jiu-jitsu and techniques. It's a system of values saying this is important, this is important, this is important, right? And so having that, do you guys think that that is going to be the future, is we all have our own system of values of what we find important and then you create out of that? Or do you think it's just always going to be the way it is, the Wild West?
I think it's interesting, and because I done some stuff with mental models, and I've look at the stuff they write and their groups and everything. And I think especially with the advent of Danaher, we all started pretty, more in the Wild West days of jiu-jitsu where it was kill or be killed, iron sharpens iron, only the toughest survive. And then since really the advent of like YouTube and the fast internet,
and also good YouTube.
Yeah.
It was YouTube when I started.
Yeah.
But it was like Submissions 101. Here's a flying upside down omoplata, and it's just like jumping in the air, almost killing myself, doing very unreasonable moves because the quality wasn't there.
Yeah.
Now we have availability and quality.
Yeah. But like because now it's become more ubiquitous that we can actually post stuff and actually create a platform for good coaches. In that it's now forcing us to be better coaches.
Yep.
And that's kind of like where I was kind of almost going to in the previous part is that to try and create that kind of niche that I don't have world champions in my gym, but if I can explain jiu-jitsu in a way that is above a regular coach, that's how I'm going to get my seminar. So that when I do those videos, like that is I am a child of YouTube. Like if it wasn't for that one video of me explaining something relatively well, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am now. And it's that, before it was, before the advent of good ability to share information online, it was always, okay, this person's good because of the medals they own. Mm-hmm. But now when
they're recommended by this guy who's fast.
Yeah, exactly. But now it's a case of, I can see this guy's coaching. And it could be he or she could create good world champions or just make everyone in the gym better. Yeah. And I think when you talk about values, it comes down to you could almost interchange that with concepts. I know it is a buzzword. Like it's amazing how many times I hear people say, "Oh yeah, I'm teaching a concepts," and they just do techniques with better explanations.
They just show techniques.
That I don't think we're thinking the same thing here. You're just explaining your techniques better. But like you said, when you talk about Danaher, he's condensed jiu-jitsu down to very simple ways. It's like he's explaining it in very simple concepts. He's like, and Kit Dell was probably one of the first ones to do this as well.
The art of learning.
Yeah, exactly.
That was really good.
Same with Lackland. A lot of these guys who are coming.
I really enjoy Lackland.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about concepts in that way, I mean, most jiu-jitsu people aren't teachers. We're not. What is the credential for making a black belt instructor? They just got good at fighting people.
Yeah.
Like, in what planet then does that actually make any sense that they can actually explain what they do just because they fight a lot?
I understand. I think the other piece of it is making things not just like organizing things, right? So like you said, values. Like if you organize all of your techniques such that they flow forth from a small list of concepts.
Yeah.
Then you can have your jiu-jitsu make sense in your head. And so I think that, for example, just like yesterday, the contrast between our two classes. Your class was heavily conceptual, and I loved it. Not to mention because I've seen you teach, and I was able to steal some things like how he said that, like I said that, G-spots for fun, all these important things. How you teach.
You guys got to book Chris Payne's for a seminar to know about that.
Massive
Do you talk about G-spot passing in the How to Defend Everything BJJ Fanatics?
Yes. I go aggressively into G-spots.
Okay, good. So there will be a way for you guys to hear about it.
But as I was saying, he was heavily conceptual, and I think that I was talking to Kyle after the owner of the gym, and he was just like, I feel like the blues and purples and browns, their minds are ready for just heavy concepts. But some of the white belts were having a harder time. And then I came in afterwards and I was like, here are the concepts he's talking about, and here are some examples. And I've always had a hard time with it because just like Chris says, it's very easy once you give an example for the person to become fixated on your example and miss that this example is simply a vehicle of conveying the concepts. And they get obsessed with because for example, I taught a class called Choke Theory back years ago. And I used a rear naked choke as the example. And at the end of the seminar, people being like, but I can't finish a rear naked choke. And I'm like, it's not about your rear naked choke being perfect. It's about understanding how all strangulation works and being able to use these ideas to make everything better. I used a rear naked choke. I chose a purposely unrealistic setup so you didn't get fixated on the setup. You're trying to make this setup work. It's not supposed to work. The idea is for you to understand arteries and stillness.
Yeah.
Not cranking and ripping a head off.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to strike that balance. And I find that some people, especially white belts, they need a concrete example.
Yes.
And that's like kind of like my current obsession, because like I got a minor in education in college and like really cared about education. I almost became a school teacher. I just made a left turn once I realized how the education system in Florida was, and it's like, everyone here is miserable. I'm taking this job.
Yeah.
But it's to make that world-class jiu-jitsu accessible to people of all levels.
Yes.
Because like a lot of times you'll see a thing, you're like, wow, like, have you been to a seminar where you're convinced after the seminar, like, that guy's amazing at jiu-jitsu? Like, he's really convinced me.
Yeah.
He's amazing at jiu-jitsu. I can't do any of the shit he just did. But like, he's convinced me, he's definitely better than me at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's almost like a punchline, like I said, like the amount of times that you'll book like a world-class person, and everyone will leave at the end and put the picture up of them with that person. Oh my God, game-changing details, and use none of it.
Never.
Like,
Yeah.
it's so funny because you think that person has just demonstrated what they used at their most recent win and what they used to win, and you think, great, you're fighting world-class athletes at your belt and at your level, and I'm not.
Yeah, I'm fighting Pete from
Yeah,
down the street.
exactly.
We're not the same there.
He's not going to, or he or she's not going to move the same way. Why would I need that? Like, and it's. I mean, Christian Gragot makes a really fun point at some of the camps. He says, "Are seminars worth it?" No.
Yeah.
And I know that's kind of shooting us both in the foot at this point.
Yeah.
But the majority of seminars, and again, I'm not putting myself in this camp, so please book me.
All seminars except for the ones that us two and our friends.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, you go because you want a picture with that person. You're paying, $50 or $100 or whatever it is, just to have a photo with an athlete.
I think in the case of the name seminars, that can often be the case.
Yeah.
Like I remember a friend of mine, I don't remember. It was a Gracie. There's a lot of them. I don't remember which Gracie it was. They had a seminar in Florida, and my friend who had just started jiu-jitsu was like, "Hey Charles, you got to go to the so-and-so seminar." I'm like, "Really? Is it Florida? Yeah. You want to come?" I'm like, "Sure." How much is it? It's $200. I'm just like,
Yeah.
How long is the seminar? 2 hours. Like, what's he teaching? Doesn't say. Whoa. I don't think I'm coming. Like, this was one time, like, I never had a large amount of money. I think I was a purple belt, but I was just like, I knew enough to be like, I can't spend $200 of my money for a mystery box of technique and a photo.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I need to know a little more about what's going on unless I've learned from this person before.
Of course.
Because this is like you said, this is pre everyone having a YouTube kind of resume, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because for most people that are teaching seminars now, if you go on YouTube or at least Instagram or BJJ Fanatics, you can at least see like, this is how this person teaches. This is what they tend to teach, and it works for me.
Yeah.
Right? Because like some people will enjoy Jiu-Jitsu and how he teaches. Some people will enjoy step and casting. Some people will enjoy Kit Dale, Lachlan Giles, John Danaher. They all teach a little different. Or they'll enjoy me or Chris or Preet or Wim DePuter or whoever. Or other people, like, there'll be someone who desperately loves John Danaher and they want to watch him every day. And there's someone else who's like, I can't do it.
Yep.
It's too long. It's too slow. I can't learn from him.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to know not just is it worth it, but is it worth it personally for you? And that's going to shift depending on your goals. If you want to be a joker and have fun and do ridiculous shit, go to Jeff Flores seminar. He's going to teach you something preposterous, and you're going to have fun trying to play donkey guard tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because this is what he does. He provides entertainment and fun techniques. If you're trying to practice for worlds in a very tightly competitive division, you want to make a perfect game for that. Going to that donkey guard seminar probably isn't your best move.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it is. Maybe you're built just like Jeff and you can make it work at this level, but chances are that's not the current meta, so to speak. To bring that word in, it's going to be a whole.
That makes sense. On your let's stay on seminars right now. So with seminars, I agree with you guys. Most seminars you're paying for an experience. You're paying to meet this guy. It's only sometimes you go for the experience and then you're like, whoa, this guy's actually a really, really good teacher. So do you guys have any favorite people to learn from at a seminar?
It was only really after the Globetrotters camps that, because the early days of them, Christian used to have to book bigger names to try and get people interested, because before that it became this monster that it is now. So you'd always get like a name, and so I've been doing them every year now for 9 years, 10 years, whatever it is, and those were always the worst classes. And I think it's easier to then compare when you have like a buffet. Like, it's almost like going to a music festival where you can watch like the headline act and go, they're just phoning it in. Yeah. And then you go see like a lower act in a small stage, and they just just break the room. And you're like, oh my God, that was awesome. And it was the exact same with the Globetrotters camps. As in the names that I never thought I'd be interested in, I'm like, oh my God, these guys are awesome. And then, but I've never even heard of them. And then you go to the headline act, and you're like, oh, that sucked. Like, and I think the prime example of that, and don't want to blow smoke up his ass, is Preet. Yeah. As in, I've been doing these camps for a while. I was a purple belt when I first met him, and Chris Houter was there. There was once with Hoyce Gracie and Clark Gracie and Keenan, and he'd always had these fantastic names. And I was still very much in that kind of mindset. Oh my God, like, they're good. They must be good. Yeah. And even though I had evidence that they maybe weren't, I was still under the impression that they were. And then, there's this Estonian guy. And this was before he got famous, before he had Fanatics, or he was traveling and still part of SVG. He hadn't really done much international at this point. And I'm like, Estonia? Who's heard of Estonia? And his class just blew me away. And that kind of wrecked me for booking any big name ever again. Like, I was like, oh, that's how you teach jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Like, that is, I get everything he just said. I can implement that now. Mm-hmm. Like, and that was one of the most pivotal moments in my coaching. And that when I did that seminar yesterday, like, I like to start by almost signing a contract, in the first seconds. This is what I want you to know before you leave. And I want to show you in a way, like, when I was teaching, I was saying that, even what I'm saying, this is how I want you to learn it. Yeah. Don't use it. Like, if you go and use it against your peers now, you will fail, you will lose, you will lose trust in what I've said, and you'll abandon. Mm-hmm. And this $50 seminar was entirely pointless. Go and use it this way. You have to train it this way to get trust in it. Because I want you to be able to use it and build it into your game. You came here for a reason. It wasn't to be seen with me. Yeah. I'm not attractive. Or good. So I need to find, you've come here because you want to get better. We signed this contract together. My goal as a coach is to get you where you want to be, because you cannot get there yourself. I want you to now be able to use this tomorrow. And it's that kind of, I'm not phoning this in, I care. And that's what Preet showed me back in those days. He's not phoning it in. He wants you to get better. Mm-hmm. And that was pivotal. So I will not book anyone that doesn't give that level of shit.
Hey guys, Josh McKinney here. Just wanted to interrupt really quick and tell you about a free gift that I have for you at simplifyingjujitsu.com. So my question for you is, do you struggle learning jiu-jitsu the same way that everybody else seems to be able to learn it? Do you struggle with the current system of jiu-jitsu learning? It leaves you feeling like you don't understand and you can't execute. Well, maybe it's just that you learn slightly different from the people that you're training with. Maybe it's just that you learn slightly different from your coach. What I've found is that there are 3 perspectives that people will typically learn jiu-jitsu. And I wrote a free ebook on it called The 3 Lenses. And these just look at the 3 perspectives that most of us use to learn jiu-jitsu and how we can use these perspectives more effectively and tie them in to some modern training method and tie them into some new ideas. And so I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. This is only available at simplifyingjujitsu.com/learn. Again, it is the 3 lenses only at simplifyingjujitsu.com/learn. Back to the episode.
And there's something too about booking somebody who came from a place that jiu-jitsu wasn't flourishing. If say one of my students only ever learned from me and all of my group of black belts, they are still going to only see one lens of jiu-jitsu, no matter how great we are explaining it. But if my student have no black belts, there's nobody around, and they have the internet, and they get 1,000 views, and they go, okay, well, in Estonia or in Stafford or in wherever, we can together create our own language, create our own set of ideas, create our own values, create our own whatever. Not techniques, but our own way of doing jiu-jitsu and thinking about jiu-jitsu in the way that some of these special gyms have. And then that guy has the toughness to stay long enough to become a black belt. His delivery of jiu-jitsu, I noticed it in the first 5 minutes of we didn't get to really talk meet. You got in late the night before when you taught at Kyle's. First 5 minutes of your seminar, while you were talking, I go, yeah, this guy understands jiu-jitsu. He understands how to deliver. He is here. I can see everybody's excited. This is after an hour and a half of Chris insulting us. This is after 90 minutes of Chris just being like, yeah, you guys suck. What's going on? No one, come on, submit me. No one can, And so then after that, I could just, right? But I could see the delivery of both. It's two completely unique characters. Of course, you guys you train together long enough, you start to see things a lot of the same perspective, but still two very different views of jiu-jitsu. And they're views that when I get to be around it, I don't care how good I ever get. I know getting around a different view like that will always make me go, I don't even know jiu-jitsu. I don't even know what this guy, or he explained one sentence in what it usually takes me a whole podcast to explain. Or something like that. You just see those things from guys that had to get good, that really cared about getting good. And as much as I love competing and as much as I want to win in competition, it does not matter a single bit. It doesn't. I've rolled with guys that are not competitors at all. And I'm just like this. I can't comprehend what just happened. This guy's unbelievable. But it seems like, especially in America where sports are so big, and there's still just a lot of confusion with the sport and the art in jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of crossover there. I think what happens to a lot of us is we go, well, we're all training the sport, and yes, we are, but we're all doing the art. We're all performing the art, and only some of us are actually competing in the sport. And so just understanding that, not only are there people from Stafford and Gainesville that have these really can teach great seminars, but they also can come in and give you this perspective of jiu-jitsu that maybe you've never heard of. And it's not just in a technique, it's in an idea, way of training or whatever. And I think if there's any message to get out for people, it's stop booking big names. Stop booking big names. Money. Honestly, I've been to a lot of big name seminars. And I think some people would, you have to know who this guy is to consider him a big name. But I think Sean Williams, one of the only guys that I've ever gone and I've gone, whoa, this guy delivers. In every seminar I've done of his, he delivers.
I think it's not necessarily stop booking big names. I think it's kind of like that. I'm gonna say it in a funny way though. It's like the 10th planet. Look into it. Right?
Look into it.
Yeah. You need to do your research. More than just having a video of them slaughtering someone in competition. It's really easy. Just find a video of them teaching, watch it, and then see did I learn anything? Do I feel like I've been enlightened in any way, shape, or form from this video? Because very, very few people that teach good seminars have nothing on the internet. I mean, there are a few people who maybe they don't, but there's you can find a sample, because I don't necessarily think the size of the name is the clearest reflection. When you have a big name person, you will get a lot of people that are just there for the photo. And that it's frustrating because, for example, I've taught at the Globetrotters camps, I've taught at other camps, I've been in situations where everyone's come to me wow, that was the best class of the camp that I've seen or whatever, and this is outside of Globetrotters. I like that I've had that happen. Globetrotters are just so big. I might have like one person who like thinks that I'm the best, but like, I'm not under any delusions that like.
You're like, thanks, Mom.
That
Thanks,
drunk
I really
high.
appreciate it.
No, just because of the fact that like what I loved about, I'm kind of going to segue and come back. What I loved about my first time at Globetrotters was the fact that the other instructors cared about the quality of the new guy. They cared about whether or not I was up to snuff. Because, like I said, I didn't have a name. I wasn't famous. But on top of that, like, Christian usually requires a coach to have come to a camp before they can instruct at a camp.
Yeah.
I was given an exception because he was sponsoring me as a traveler. He's like, what can I give you? He's like, I'm not going to pay for your flights. Sorry, son. I'm like, okay, that's fair. I'll give you a few t-shirts. I'll give you a rash guard. And what else? You want a gi? You give me a gi. And then he's like, what else? Come, teach at the camp. I'm going to trust you to teach at camp. Dan Reed has vouched for you. Let's do this. And I still, I won't forget, like, watching Chris and Preet and a few of the other instructors, like, watching me teach. And, like, feeling like, even though I've been doing jiu-jitsu for, like, having that feeling of, like, these assholes think I don't suck. And, like, but it forced me to, like, that first night, like, I went home to the dorm and I was like, no, I'm not going to go party. I'm going to sit down and obsess over making sure that my damn seminar is bulletproof. Because that asshole Estonian that I saw teach that was actually right about shit is going to either ask me a question and tell me that I suck. I'm going to make sure he has nothing. Because, like, wanting to, like, prove Preet wrong, just like you said, like, Preet is an amazing instructor. As you asked the question earlier, like, who would you like to learn from? I do enjoy learning from Preet, but, like, I love Preet, but, like, at the end of the day, like, I've learned most of Preet's things from this asshole just because for whatever reason, like, the way that he teaches just connects with how my mind works.
Yeah.
So it's not, like I said, it's not always, like, who's the best coach, it's who's the best coach for you. Like, I tend to make jokes and use analogies and use strange analogies when I teach. If that works for you, great. Some people prefer more vulgar analogies. There are people who go like really raunchy.
That would be a Chris
and like,
they might
like that better. Some people are very offended by profanity. Oh, he said fuck, and they can't learn anymore. It's over. They're just distracted. Like, why would this person ruin this beautiful jiu-jitsu with this profane language? Or like it's just one of those things. Or like, for example, I realized my first time in Denmark that Danish people have a very particular type of sense of humor, and my sense of humor just happened to line up with it. I was teaching a seminar, and I was doing a pressure pass, and I was just like, he's not moving. I'm going to lead my elbow into his sternum and give him some motivation to move. And I got, like, belly laughs from the whole room. I'm like, it wasn't that funny like at all. And then the guy's like, you don't understand. Like, what you've just said is, like, exactly our humor. Like, and you're a foreigner. And we were just very surprised that you're making a joke that's so in line with, like, that part of Denmark's humor. So, like, it's that. Because, like, I don't separate it between big names and little names, because there are some little name guys, or, like, medium name guys, depending on how you're measured, who are amazing teachers. Like, I'm constantly on Instagram, and, like, Malachi Freeman will post something, and I'm like, oh, fuck. That little detail is brilliant. Or, like, when I was listening to Lachlan teach at the leg lock camp, like, I really, really enjoyed, like, I had hated Barambolos for over 10 years, because they came into fashion as a blue belt. I was like, I don't want to be like everybody else.
Yep.
I'm not going to learn the Barabola.
I do the same thing. I agree. Same time, same thing.
And he taught it, and I was like, oh, like, this doesn't have to be this stammy 18-step move thing everyone else is. Just that wedge bolo is a concept that to me parallels my backstep entries for leg locks, and I became obsessed. And in 3 months, me and Natasha made an entire seminar and drilling methodology around back takes and leg locks based upon, it was 40 hours of instruction. So it was 20 hours of Craig Jones teaching, 20 hours of Lachlan teaching over the course of this week-long camp, out of probably a 5-minute section of that whole camp. That was my biggest takeaway. It was like, I don't have to hate bolos anymore. This wedge bolo thing is something I should investigate. But I've had those moments with lots of the instructors, both at Globetrotters and elsewhere. Sven Groten is one of the other Globetrotters instructors that, like, did something and I was like, ooh, stealing from you. Or with the Pewter, stealing from you. Dennis Schindler, stealing from you. Like, I'm just going to take this little bit, I'm going to obsess over it. It might be a small thing for you, or in the case of some of the things that I obsessed over from Chris or Preet, they leave it behind. They're like, oh, that was cool. And it's not important that they were because they moved on to something else. And I'm still over here like, no, Chris. Like, you don't understand how great this thing you said in Florida 3 years ago was. Like, I'm still working on it. They're like, that was nothing. I don't care.
Yeah. But that's like the way that conceptual teachers are. It's the same way that great cooks and great chefs are. You go and give a chef his recipe from 3 years ago that you forced him to measure out, and he'll look at it and he'll go, this is stupid. He'll go, no, I don't do this. Yeah. I don't do any of this stuff anymore. And then you'll go, but you said you did this. And I did at the time. Yeah. I did it then, but now this is how I see the recipe, or this is how I see it.
Ever evolving.
And that's the beauty of these guys whose goal is, hey, I want you to step into my head for a second, for an hour and a half. You'll be haunted. It'll be rough for all of us.
Yeah, it really stepping into our warped worldview.
Yeah, and you said, hey, that's really all the concept is an idea in jiu-jitsu. That's like, there are so many people that fear that word. Feel like you said, they fear, oh, this guy's a conceptual teacher. This guy's I remember when that used to be looked down upon.
It means this shit doesn't work.
Exactly, right. It means no one's going to understand what he's talking about. And I think for a while, especially in America, it was like that. Then there were a few guys that would just peek out, and they would go, and you would go, wait, this is giving me some framework. Yeah. This is giving me something that's almost like something I can always fall back to, or something I can always go. And just like Chris always explains it, I would rather teach you what I'm thinking now than what took me, what I learned 15 years ago, and it took me 15 years to get here. And so I always love that. But then you have to also have guys who have a little more structured thinking and go, okay, but if this was right 3 years ago, it still is right now. So we need to keep.
It's not even about it being right. I think it's more of like, it's kind of like if you take some leftover food and you drop it in your frying pan with some eggs and paprika, it's a different dish now.
Yeah.
So like
that's good.
And so that's kind of how I see it. It's like I've taken a few of Chris's leftovers and like made some breakfast out of it. And so like that's been useful. But then also like I'm constantly just trying to make elegant sentences, which was really how Preet got me, which was his famous sentence that Chris said yesterday, and I often say that like all of control in jiu-jitsu is occupying the space between someone's armpit and the back of their knee. And the secondary sentence, all of defense in jiu-jitsu is then denying that space to your opponents. And I had been saying something similar for years, and I looked at it, I like this better.
Yeah.
And like that's the same thing when like Chris had his little McDonald's straws analogy for the arteries. Better than mine.
Yep.
And so like I'm constantly like evolving my approach to things, trying to find that clean sentence that like a missile goes into my student's head. Like that's what I want, is like those turns of phrase. And I'll meet people who say things in a way and I'm like, ooh, that it's like that meme of DiCaprio on the TV. Like like that I feel it and it's like that needs to be written down. I have to remember that.
I think one of the when I was I think I just got my blue belt, so I've just been to the first camp. I tried to book a local black belt, and considering I'd never trained under a black belt, like the first black belts I met were at the Globetrotters camps. I tried to book a local one, and I said to him, "Do you mind if we record the class?" He never came. He never came, and I only had like 7 or 8 people who in the gym at that time. So it's a really small seminar we tried to sort out. And he said something to me that is stuck with me. Considering I put black belts on a pedestal, like you are a god. Like I up until that point, I never even thought I was going to get a blue belt because I didn't have a coach. Like how the hell am I even going to get a blue belt? So black belts are just, mystical beings. And he said something to me. He was like, you can, but don't put it anywhere. And I thought, maybe he doesn't want his stuff to get seen, or that's understandable. But he said, no, like, whatever I say, by the time I've said it, it's out of date. And that there, like again, because I've heard that kind of sense, like, you said this 3 years ago at this camp, I was like, he goes, you don't do that anymore? And I'm like, no. And people are like, well, why? I'm like, because I'm still getting better.
Yeah.
Like, well, I didn't hit black belt and stop. Like, literally a black belt just means that I now understand this. Now I've got the framework to understand this sport. Now I can actually get good or make other people good. And for him to then say that to me of, like, no, like, literally by the time it's left my mouth, it's wrong. Like,
It's out.
and that alone broke. I was like, what? I thought you'd crack this. And it's almost like that's, so I used to have a YouTube channel where I used to record a lot of things, and I stopped recording. And it was that going through my head again as I started to get people watching me, and I was like, this is out of date. Like, I don't want you to like watch what I'm doing, and I know I I want to show you what I'm doing now, but it was that kind of like anxiety of, but by the time I've recorded it, I'm going to do it again the following day. I'm going to know better, and I don't want you to think of me of what I used to be like, because I'm now better than I was. And it's
so just you guys, we started with that I should travel more. We should finish with that Chris should film more. You both should film more, because you're talking to a guy that's on the opposite side, that says like, hey, I struggle with that same thing, that same battle of, man, once it's done and then I have it out, and then by the time I'm marketing it, I'm like, I think of this in a totally new way. Yeah. I have a totally new understanding of this. And I think that's a sign of a good grappler. But something Tim Ferriss, as he says, he talks about writing this book on mental health. He was in an interview, and the guy said, why haven't you released the book? And he goes, well, it's 80, 90% finished. He's like, I just got to get those last 10%. And the guy says to him, he goes, Tim, is it better to release it 90% now or 100% 10 years from now? Would it be more helpful? He's like, for people now. And he's like, no, it would. And the same with our jiu-jitsu. Our jiu-jitsu will always be unfinished. Yeah, it will, right? That's the beauty. That's why we love it. That's why people that love to obsess like we do just find jiu-jitsu and then never leave it. It's because you just obsess over it, and it's always new. It's always fresh. You're going to teach stuff today. You guys are going to teach things and say things. I learned from you yesterday. You teach things and say things I've never heard before or never thought of in a certain way, or has never been delivered to me that way. And it's going to shift my perspective on jiu-jitsu. Even though it's not yet perfect, even though we all three have not unified on our perfect ideas, you two are great explainers of jiu-jitsu. And imagine where that 90% finished could take everybody else when you guys are posting stuff. Imagine, we could find the 10% if we understood the 90%, And so that is my statement to you guys, that you guys should be posting more. Yeah. When I look on YouTube, you guys should be recording these seminars. These seminars are so good that you guys are delivering all over the world. And so, man, we want to see it. Even if literally it's done on a cell phone without a good mic, without good lighting, and you see all these other guys that are famous on YouTube with that stuff. If you watch the first 100 episodes of my podcast, it was hit or miss. If you hit or miss, if you were going to even hear the sound well, it was. And, or if there was even going to be video. But the thing was, I was like, we're just going to keep doing it. We're just going to keep doing it. And now I get to have conversations with guys like you in a room that feels like, hey, this actually is a jiu-jitsu podcast studio. This actually feels like a jiu-jitsu thing. But it just takes that consistency. People just want to hear what you guys have to say. I don't care if it's not done on good mics or good cameras. I watched the whole Iceland seminar, and then the next day, watched it on Thursday night, and the next day was trying armbar defenses, because I saw it. Had I have not saw that, I wouldn't have tried it.
But you say that, it was quite funny when you said it, just is that one of the main comments I get is like, is there a more perfect combination than Chris Payne's teaching and poor audio? So the main comments I get, I'm like, fuck you all.
The main comment that I would get when I started my podcast, first 60 episodes, I literally have 1-star reviews. This guy can't say jujitsu. I used to say jujitsu, and it was just a habit. Never even noticed it. But when you're on a podcast,
people nitpick it.
People nitpick it. And they would just roast me. And then, you know what? I guarantee you, none of those commenters have a podcast that's getting any listens, And so it's like, none of those guys have a YouTube channel that's getting views. They just want something to complain about. Everybody else that watched, the 1,000 other people that watch, are like, I just turn up the sound.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
I just turned up the sound. I looked in the comments like, oh man, everyone else seems to like
You're
it.
so right. Like that obsession with quality before you release. Like I have hours and hours of video and audio of podcast episodes and videos that I was just like, it's not perfect, and just never release.
Get rid of it. Totally agree. And I think we all probably do is,
and it's just like you're saying, like it's better to just get it out there.
It really,
or like what'll happen is like someone else will release it. Like I remember I had an entire bottom side Keza system that like I've been working on for years, and then ADCC West Coast trials happened. All those buggy chokes are getting hit.
Yeah.
Marvin Castillo, like a ninja, released his Fuggy system, which is a bottom side Keza system, which is the reverse side buggy choke, an entire system on it. And I was just like, but like, props to him. Like he's another person that I would say is one of the people I enjoy how they teach. I went to one of his dark arts camps, just like, and I was like, wow, like, this is so organized. Like, it's not at all how to teach. He teaches kind of like teaching you to play a song on a guitar. He teaches you a flow in the exact order of the flow, and you replicate it, kind of like warm-ups. But your idea is that you should be able to extrapolate that flow. Like, I don't teach it all the way he teaches, but how he teaches is very detailed and precise and organized, and like it's meant for retention. He makes them repeat things, kind of like how pre-seminars are like 8 hours. His is the same thing. It's like 8 hours, and so like if you can commit to those 8 hours, like you're gonna remember something.
Yeah,
because it's been 8 hours of repetition. Something's gonna seep in eventually. And so like you're 100% right, and I'm gonna try my best to take that advice of actually releasing things. For me, it's not a matter of filming; it's a matter of like pressing that publish button.
Yeah.
Okay, think of it in these terms, though. I watched you do it, and you even said that you do it. I watched you do it at Kyle's yesterday, at Watson Martial Arts yesterday. When it was time to roll, you know how to work an open mat. You know how to roll. When I rolled with you, I was done, and I had a smile on my face. Yeah. The next guy rolled with you, done, smile on their face. Next girl, done, smile on their face. Then somebody gets stuck in something, and you show them. You explain it to them. You don't edit that. No. You don't tweak that. And it's great. You don't. It's amazing content. You go and you just start telling us something, and you don't have to even mess with it. It's terrific content, right? And so I think sometimes, though, because it's online and we know we're going to have negative commenters, I think there is this level of, oh no, that someone else is going to nitpick someone else. Yeah. But it's just the internet. You know what I mean? They would never, even if we were all standing around, no one would go, well, I don't like how he said that. Or I don't like, you know what I mean? It's just the internet. I think something I got from Keenan, he goes, yeah, anytime anyone says anything negative, I just delete them. He goes, delete them completely. And he goes, and they can't do it again. Yeah. And he's like, I don't have to absorb negative comments. That's not my job. He's like, I don't have to get made fun of by you. You're gone. He's like, I'm creating my own thing. I'm creating my own platform, like where I'm just doing this. That is my thing to you guys, is that you guys absolutely should be posting more, mainly for my sake. Mainly for me. Yeah, exactly. I want to see. Man, most of this stuff on YouTube isn't very good for learning jiu-jitsu. Yeah. It's very good for enjoying jiu-jitsu. Yes. It's very good for appreciating, which is awesome. Yeah. But it is not good for learning. Most of it. Most of it's the same stuff done over and over again. Most of it is 10 rules, 3 things, just things that you will click on, right?
They're taking the YouTube algorithmic naming conventions and just shoving jiu-jitsu in there.
They're BuzzFeeding the death out of it.
It's more about getting the views than it is what's being posted. And we need more guys like you
can get your
who care more about
tiny, unusual secret.
Exactly. Exactly. Who care more about sharing jiu-jitsu. That's really what that platform is. And that's kind of what you guys talked about the whole time when you're going to these places in Germany and you're going to these places all over the world. You're sharing jiu-jitsu. And I think, obviously this is just me telling, just you guys what you should be doing with your lives, but it's true. You guys have amazing jiu-jitsu. I know as a fan of both of you now, I want to hear it. And so let's finish with this. Of course.
Great closing,
Of course. If there is a place online, I know that you both have instructionals. Where would they? Yours hasn't come out yet, right, Chris?
Nope. So I don't know what your release schedule for this is, but probably about if it's in the next 4 weeks, it's probably about the same time.
Okay,
so
cool. It should be right then.
September. Yeah. I've got the Fanatics. I don't know what name they're going to give it, but I called it How to Defend Everything. But I hope that comes out well. Otherwise, yeah, you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. I'm pretty amiable and
Do you have like a Patreon or something?
not anymore. No.
Oh, it's not going?
I don't really do the YouTube anymore, so it kind of fell
I
off.
like your YouTube.
Yeah, I did
used to
too,
do
man.
more.
And then he stopped doing it.
I know, but this he's just convinced me.
All right.
I said to you, yes.
I honestly thought you were done. I thought it was like that whole thing, like, you know, those like niche TV shows. They season out randomly. I thought you were just being inclusive, and there's going to be a new one coming.
Yeah.
I'll make a new one. I think you're right.
For me, it's I also have 2 DVDs of the BJJ Fanatics. One's called Leg Locks 101, and the other one's called Inversions 101 and The Art of Inversion. One's about pretty much how to learn to do leg locks without alienating your training partners or injuring people. And the inversion one's how to turn upside down and do lots of inverting stuff that's fun, but not hurting your neck and keeping yourself safe. If you like me, I have a rock fin, and I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and all those things under just my name, Charles Harriott, Harriott. And I think that's it. If you want to book me, just message me. I'll come virtually anywhere.
All right.
That's it.
All right. Chris, same thing. You're on Instagram. What is
just look for Chris Paynes or The Villain. I have my logoed face.
Yeah.
So if you find a logo of a guy smiling maniacally, it's probably me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will go anywhere at this point. Just give me a sofa and some flights, and I will go anywhere.
All right. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Josh.
And that is the episode. I hope you guys liked this one. Hope you guys liked the format of just being in person. I have some different ideas, a lot of people that I want to bring back on the show, and kind of just some cool characters that you guys have told me you like, you want to hear from again. And now that we have this in-person aspect, or particularly this 3-person in-person aspect that we can start messing with, I think we can produce some really, really fun jiu-jitsu podcast episodes that I think haven't been done yet. A lot of times I listen to other podcasts, and nothing against them, but when I hear the interviews, it feels similar to a lot of other interviews that I've heard. And when we want something jiu-jitsu specific, at least for me, I want something that is going to be jiu-jitsu specific and different. And that is, you're always going to get different when you're hanging out with Josh McKinney. So I think that's probably a promise of the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show, is that we will continue to be different. And so really quick thanks to Charles and Chris for being on the show. I know as of the release of this, or the editing of this episode, Chris's BJJ Fanatics Instructional is not out yet, but both of Charles's are. And I know Chris's will be out very, very soon. And I will be sure to put his link in the description of this episode whenever that does come out. And so you guys should just be able to check the link in the description and check out How to Defend Everything. And I'm pretty sure that is all that I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Hope you are excited as I am about the changes that we have going on to the show. And most importantly, I hope today's episode helps you guys suck just a little bit less at jiu-jitsu. Have a great day, guys. Hey guys, Josh here again. I noticed that the podcast is over, but you are still listening, so you might still be in search of some really good free content that the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show provides. So if that is the case, if you guys are looking for some solo episodes where you can learn more about efficiency and effectiveness in Jiu-Jitsu, I would highly recommend 2 episodes. The first is episode 111, and that is on blitzing. It's this idea of pacing that most people even black belts don't think about. And then episode 129 is on designated winner. It is this new training concept that we have been doing at my team. We've been talking about a lot on the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show. I've actually been traveling the country and teaching this training method. And so as we continue to grow the show, I think that is going to be the episode that I push most people to. It's episode 129, designated winner, learning to master the flow. This is kind of the missing piece between drilling and flowing and positional sparring. You kind of get to combine all three of those things with designated winner and get the effects of all three of those things with designated winner. Also, if you guys are interested, if you're looking for some more deep dives into specific things in jiu-jitsu, you can always go to simplifyingjujitsu.com, where I have all of my instructionals, all of my dad's instructionals, and actually a few from my coach Kyle Watson, my friend Nick Sanders, John Prine, really some amazing black belts instructing you at simplifyingjujitsu.com. Also at simplifyingjujitsu.com, I have a free ebook for you guys. It is called The 3 Lenses. It is the 3 lenses that people look through to learn jiu-jitsu. Most of us only ever see or learn from one of the lenses. And simply by adding the extra perspective of the other two, you will triple how quickly you get good at jiu-jitsu, especially how well you understand jiu-jitsu. And that is what this free ebook really provides, is a very good way for you to understand the language, understand what's happening, understanding why you are getting better, or more importantly, why you're not getting better. And you can use this free ebook and it will help you diagram what you want to getting to the goals you want to get to. And so that is all I have for you guys. Make sure to check out Designated Winner. Make sure to check out everything that I have at simplifyingjujitsu.com, whether it is free or it is paid. You can also follow me on Instagram at the Josh McKinney. If you ever have any questions or comments, or you want to send a suggestion for a Suck Less Saturday episode, you can email me, Josh at simplifyingjujitsu.com. I read all those emails. Sometimes they get repetitive, so I combine 5 or 6 emails to be a Suck Less Saturday episode. But keep those emails coming so I can keep producing great jiu-jitsu content, and I can keep hearing from the people who actually enjoy the show and want to keep hearing the jiu-jitsu content that I produce. Have a great day, guys. I hope this last little few minute clip helps you suck just a little bit less at jiu-jitsu. Have a great day.
Money, money.